Does shooting on real 8mm film ever make sense? Is it financially worth it? Absolutely not. But will I be doing it again? Definitely. So Ben has just left for Spain and we're flying out at the end of the month to go and meet him for his wedding. My goal is to make him a Super 8 wedding film, actually shot on real 8mm film, all for a budget of £500. Now there's 3 main objectives in order to complete this. Number 1 is to buy a camera, number 2 is to buy film, and number 3 is to get it all processed and scanned. And it might seem illogical, but we're going to do the planning in reverse order, and it'll all make sense a little bit later. Firstly, we're going to look into the processing, and there's lots of great options online for this, but we're going to go straight to Analog Wonderland, who are a fantastic film specialist based near to our studio. And when you go to the Super 8 processing options on their website, they've partnered with the Kodak Lab at Pinewood Studios, very near us. So we know we're really getting the best quality processing here, going with them. In terms of processing options, we're going to choose Overscan. And Overscan will leave us with that classic 8mm film burned on the outside, and we can choose whether or not we want to punch in and post later on. In terms of the quality, we're going to choose Premium, which is their mid-range option. And that means that we're looking at £120 per roll of film we want to get developed and scanned with them. So we add the quantity to 2, that means we're going to budget £240 to the developing costs, so almost half the budget there going on just getting the film from the analog format into a digital one that we can actually use. We can also buy the Super 8mm film from Analog Wonderland as well. And thinking about the wedding day and what it's going to require, it takes place at 6 PM in the evening, and we're also going to be there for the whole day before. I'll ideally want 1 daylight balance roll of film that I can shoot on the day before and on the day leading up to the wedding. And then at the ceremony, when the party gets going around 6 PM in the evening, I'm going to want a higher ISO film, maybe a tungsten balance, that I can use to capture all the evening activities. So looking at the Kodak film stocks that they offer, it's between £50 and £75 per roll. I'm going to go for this 250D Super 8 film, so that's going to be really great for filming on the day before. And then also for the evening filming, we've got 200 or 500 ISO, and I'm going to go for the 500T here because I think we're going to need that extra sensitivity on the outside, on the beach after the sun sets. Not a lot of artificial light, so it's going to be really helpful for capturing those dark scenes. So looking at our costs so far, it's £240 for the developing and scanning, £75 for the 250D stock, £50 for the 500T stock, so £125 altogether for the film, and this brings us to the grand total of £365. And now the reason we did it in reverse order like this is because then we now know from that £500 budget, I've got £135 to spend on a Super 8 camera. Let's have a look and see what we can find. What I'm going to do for this, because it's obviously quite an important day filming the wedding, I'm going to go to a dedicated film retailer and see what they've got on offer. So have a look. So for 135, so we've got one that meets our budget there. I'm going to stick with a trusted brand, so I'm going to look for a Canon. I've watched some videos online and the Canon 318 is the one I'm going to choose for here. It is a little bit over budget. Buying from a trusted retailer like this, we know it's going to work on the day. I don't have time to do a test run and a test shoot before to see if one of the eBay ones is working or not. The great thing about Super 8 is that you can load it and unload it in daylight. The cartridges simply slide in and out of the back, so we don't have to worry about loading it wrong. What we do have to worry about though is getting the film to Spain and back without going through the airport's X-ray scanners. The reason you don't want to put film through airport scanners is because they will often completely ruin your footage. I was intending to get a lot of behind the scenes footage during this trip. However, there was something really special about choosing to capture the event on Super 8. Because of the limited amount that I could film, I spent the vast majority of time being present and enjoying the wedding. I only picked up the camera to capture the important moments, and that was only for a handful of 30-second bursts of filming. Then it was back to being a guest and taking it all in. So for a wedding such as this one, Super 8 was the perfect choice of format. People have said some really lovely comments about this wedding film, and absolutely none of the credit belongs to me. There's nothing special about the cinematography. All the credit is due to that beautiful nostalgic look of the 8mm film and the vibe and the feeling that it creates. Analog Wonderland delivered the processed and digitally scanned footage back to me in 2 weeks, which was fantastic. I was pleasantly surprised that a fair amount of the footage was actually in focus, but to be fair, there were some spectacular focus misses as well. As a general rule, anything where the subjects tended to be around 2 or 3 meters away from me tended to be nice and crisp and in focus. Anything that I shot at infinity tended to be soft. Perhaps the biggest surprise of all was the nighttime footage. There's a little underexposure tool that pops up in camera when you're underexposed, and now this doesn't stop you filming, but it's a general guide that your film might not come out as intended. Mentally, I'd prepared myself that all this nighttime footage wouldn't be usable and it wouldn't come out, but in reality, so much of it did. And there's something so beautiful about the film Latitude. The silhouette shots at night under the disco lights just have this really magical, nostalgic feel to them, which I absolutely love. On some of the nighttime shots, there is a lot of pixelation that's come back in the digital scans, most likely due to my underexposure. But I have to say that of all the footage from the weekend, I think the nighttime shots might just be my favourite. So to conclude, filming on real Super 8 film might feel like an unnecessary expense, particularly when you can recreate the look digitally in post. But for all the years trying to recreate the look, I've never had anything that looks anywhere near as good as the real Super 8 footage did. And you have to ask yourself, at this £500 price point, what other camera could you have bought that would have delivered this kind of footage? What Super 8 footage lacks in resolution, it makes up for in abundance with its character. It's definitely not the right choice for every project, but when something special like this comes along and you think about shooting Super 8, don't be afraid to take the leap and give it a go.